Dr. Kim Hana stared at her computer screen with growing confusion. The numbers made no sense. She had been studying earthquakes for 15 years, but she had never seen readings like these. The seismic waves were coming from deep inside the Earth, much deeper than any earthquake should happen. "Taman, come look at this," she called to her colleague across the research lab. Park Taman walked over, wiping coffee from his beard. He was a geologist who specialized in studying the deep parts of the Earth. "What's wrong?" "These readings. From the Pacific Ocean floor. The waves are coming from 15 kilometers down. That's impossible. The rock should be too soft at that depth to create such strong signals." Taman leaned over her shoulder and studied the screen. The wave patterns were unlike anything he had seen before. They were too regular, too organized. Natural earthquakes created messy, random patterns. These looked almost like a heartbeat. "Maybe there's something wrong with the equipment," he suggested. Hana shook her head. "I already checked. All the sensors are working perfectly, and look at this." She pointed to another part of the screen. "The signals are coming from multiple locations, but they're all exactly 15 kilometers deep. All of them." Lee Ji-woo, the team's engineer, joined them at the computer. She was young, but very skilled with the deep Earth scanning equipment. "What are you two looking at?" "Strange signals from the ocean floor," Hana explained. "Ji-woo, can you run a deeper scan? I want to see what's down there." Ji-woo nodded and sat down at her control station. Her fingers moved quickly over the keyboard as she programmed the scanning equipment. The team used powerful sound waves to see deep into the Earth, like an X-ray machine for the planet. "Running the scan now," Ji-woo announced. "This will take about 30 minutes. While they waited, Hana paced around the lab. She had a feeling that something big was about to happen. The signals were too strange to be natural. They reminded her of something artificial, something made by intelligent beings. "The scan is complete," Ji-woo called out. All three scientists gathered around her screen. What they saw made them all fall silent. Deep beneath the ocean floor, the scan showed massive metal objects. They were huge, each one several kilometers long and perfectly shaped. The objects looked like ships, but they were buried under tons of rock and sand. "This can't be right," Taman whispered. "How did ships get 15 kilometers underground?" Hana's heart was beating fast. "Run the scan again. Double-check everything." Ji-woo ran 3 more scans from different angles. Each time, the results were the same. There were at least 12 massive metal objects buried deep beneath the Pacific Ocean. They were clearly artificial, clearly built by someone or something with incredible technology. "We need to tell someone about this," Hana said. "But who? And what do we even say?" The 3 scientists spent the next hour checking and rechecking their data. There was no mistake. The objects were real, they were artificial, and they were enormous. Each one was bigger than the largest aircraft carrier ever built. "Look at this," Ji-woo said, pointing to a detailed scan of one object. "See these patterns. On the surface, they look like writing or symbols. The metal surfaces of the buried objects were covered in intricate designs. Some looked like letters or numbers, but they were unlike any human language the scientists had ever seen." "How old do you think they are?" Taman asked. Hana studied the rock layers surrounding the objects. "Based on the geological formation around them, I'd say they've been there for at least 10,000 years, maybe much longer." 10,000 years? Ji-woo's eyes were wide. "But humans didn't have technology like this 10,000 years ago. We were just starting to farm." "Maybe they're not human," Taman suggested quietly. The lab fell silent again. The idea that alien spacecraft were buried beneath their planet was almost too much to believe. But the evidence was right in front of them. We need more data, Hana decided. Jiwoo, can you send a probe down there? Jiwoo nodded. I can modify one of our deep drilling probes. It will take a few days to reach that depth, but it's possible. Do it, Hana ordered. And keep this quiet for now. We don't tell anyone until we know more. Over the next 3 days, the team worked around the clock. They sent a small drilling probe down through the ocean floor toward one of the mysterious objects. The probe was equipped with cameras and sensors that could analyze whatever it found. On the third night, the probe finally reached its target. Jiwoo activated the camera, and they all watched as images appeared on their screen. The probe had reached a smooth metal surface, covered in the strange symbols they had seen in the scans. Try to take a sample, Hana instructed. Jiwoo operated the probe's drilling arm, trying to scrape off a piece of the metal surface. But the drill couldn't make even a scratch. The metal was harder than anything they had ever encountered. What is this stuff made of? Taemin wondered. As they watched, something incredible happened. The symbols on the metal surface began to glow with a soft blue light. The glow spread across the entire surface, and the probe's sensors detected energy, readings unlike anything in their databases. It's responding to us, Jiwoo whispered. It knows we're here. The glow grew brighter, and suddenly the probe's communication systems picked up a signal. It wasn't random noise or static. It was organized, patterned, like a message. Record everything, Hana ordered, her voice shaking with excitement and fear. The signal continued for several minutes, then stopped. The blue glow faded, and the metal surface returned to its original dark color. But something had changed. The probe's instruments detected that the entire buried object was now giving off a faint energy signature. We woke it up, Taemin said. In amazement, Hana looked at her colleagues. They had stumbled onto the discovery of a lifetime, perhaps the most important discovery in human history. Buried beneath their planet were massive ships from an unknown civilization, and they were still functional after thousands of years. We need help, she realized. This is bigger than anything our small team can handle. But as they prepared to contact the government and other scientists, none of them realized that the signal from the buried ship had already traveled far beyond Earth. Across the galaxy, ancient monitoring stations detected the awakening energy signature. Alien civilizations that had been peaceful for millennia suddenly became very afraid. The humans had found the ships. The galaxy was about to change forever. That night, as Hana lay in bed unable to sleep, she wondered what they had really discovered. Were these ships from Earth's past, or from somewhere else entirely? And why had they been hidden beneath the ocean for so long? She had no way of knowing that the answers to her questions would soon reshape humanity's understanding of their place in the universe. Captain Choi Min-ho had been sailing these waters for 20 years, but he had never been asked to carry such strange equipment. His research vessel was loaded with deep-sea drilling tools and scientists who spoke in excited whispers about their secret discovery. Take us to coordinates 152.7 north, 178.3 west, Dr. Kim Hana instructed from the bridge. She looked tired but determined. Min-ho nodded and set course for the location. He didn't know exactly what the scientists had found, but he could tell it was important. The government had classified their mission as top secret, and military ships were following them at a distance. 3 days later, they reached the target area. The ocean stretched endlessly in all directions, giving no hint of the incredible. Secrets hidden far below. Dr. Yoon So-min, A specialist in ancient languages joined Hana and her team on deck. "Are you sure this is the right place?" Soman asked, looking at the empty water. "The buried ship is directly beneath us," Hana confirmed, checking her instruments. 15 kilometers down. Soman was still amazed by the whole situation. When the university had called her about translating unknown symbols, she thought it would be just another routine job. She never imagined she would be standing over alien spacecraft. "Lower the new probe," Hana ordered. This probe was much more advanced than their first one. It carried powerful drilling equipment and communication devices that could hopefully make contact with whatever intelligence controlled the buried ships. As the probe descended through the dark water, the team watched its progress on their monitors. The journey to the ocean floor took 2 hours. Then came the long drilling process to reach the buried ship. "Contact with the hull," reported Lee Ji-woo, operating the probe from her control station. On the screen, they could see the same smooth metal surface with strange symbols. But this time, the symbols were already glowing softly, as if the ship knew they were coming. "Captain," Ji-woo called to Min-ho, "can you position the ship exactly over the target? I want to try something." Min-ho made small adjustments to their position. As soon as the research vessel was perfectly aligned with the buried ship below, something unexpected happened. The probe's instruments detected a beam of energy rising from the buried ship toward their vessel. "What's that?" Soman asked nervously. Before anyone could answer, every electronic device on the ship began beeping and flashing. The energy beam had connected with their vessel's communication systems. "It's trying to talk to us," Hana realized. Suddenly, the ship's main radio crackled to life. But instead of voices, they heard a series of musical tones and rhythmic patterns. The sounds were clearly organized and purposeful. "Somin, can you make sense of this?" Hana asked. Dr. Yoon Somin listened carefully to the patterns. She had studied hundreds of ancient languages, and something about these sounds was familiar. "Play it again," she requested. Ji-woo recorded the transmission and played it back several times. Soman took notes, trying to find patterns and meaning in the strange, music-like communication. I think these are root sounds," she said slowly, "like the basic building blocks that all human languages came from. But they're much older than anything I've studied before." The transmission continued for an hour, with the buried ship sending up complex patterns of tones and rhythms. Sometimes the sounds would repeat, as if the ship was trying to teach them its language. "Look at this," Ji-woo called out, pointing to her energy detection equipment. "The ship's power signature is growing stronger. Deep beneath them, the massive, buried vessel was coming to life. Systems that had been dormant for thousands of years were activating one by one, and it wasn't just their ship that was awakening." "Hana," Taemin called from another monitor, "you need to see this." He had been tracking the other buried ships they had discovered. Every single one was now showing increased energy signatures. Across the Pacific Ocean floor, 12 enormous vessels were waking up after sleeping for millennia. "They're all connected," Hana breathed. "When we contacted one, we activated them all." Captain Min-ho watched the readings with growing concern. As a sailor, he understood the ocean's moods and dangers. What they were seeing felt like the calm before a massive storm. "Captain," his radio operator called from the communication room, "I'm getting reports from naval stations around the Pacific. They're detecting energy signatures from underwater sources." "How many sources?" Min-ho asked. "Dozens, sir. Maybe hundreds." Hana and her team exchanged worried glances. They had thought there were only 12 ships. If there were hundreds of them buried around the world, the implications were staggering. They weren't dealing with a small group of ancient vessels. They had discovered an entire buried fleet. "Soman, have you learned anything from the transmissions?" Hana asked urgently. Dr. Yoon Soman had been working frantically to decode the alien language. "I'm getting pieces," she said. "The word patterns suggest concepts like awakening, return, and home. But there's something else. They keep using a sound that might mean children or descendants." Descendants of what? Taman wondered. Before anyone could speculate, their instruments detected something that made everyone freeze. The energy beam from below was growing, much stronger, and it was changing direction. Instead of just connecting to their ship, it was now pointing up toward space. "It's sending a signal beyond Earth," Jiwoo reported, her voice filled with awe and terror. High above them, invisible to human eyes, the energy beam pierced through the atmosphere and continued into deep space. The signal was incredibly powerful, designed to travel vast distances across the galaxy. "We need to contact the government immediately," Hana decided. "This is beyond anything we can handle." But even as she reached for the satellite phone, she wondered if it was too late. The buried ships had sent their message to the stars. Somewhere in the galaxy, that message was being received. Captain Minho felt a chill run down his spine as he looked up at the peaceful blue sky. "What have we done?" he whispered. Dr. Soman continued working on the translations, and gradually she began to understand more of the alien language. The messages weren't threatening or hostile. Instead, they seemed almost happy, like someone greeting old friends after a long separation. "I think they're trying to welcome us," she told the others. "These ships, whatever they are, they seem to recognize us as family." "Family?" Hana asked. "What do you mean?" "The language patterns keep referring to connections between the ship's builders and us, like we're related to whoever made these vessels." As if responding to their conversation, the energy beam suddenly intensified. The buried ship below them began to rise. "Captain!" Jiwoo shouted. "It's moving! The ship is coming up!" Through their instruments, they could see the massive vessel slowly ascending through the layers of rock and sand that had hidden it for so long. The ocean floor itself was changing as something the size of a small city pushed its way toward the surface. "All ships, this is Captain Minho," he called on the emergency radio channel. "Move away from these coordinates immediately. We have a massive underwater object rising to the surface." As naval vessels scrambled to establish a safe perimeter, the team on the research ship watched in amazement and terror. They had wanted to study ancient alien technology. Instead, they had awakened something that was now emerging from the depths. The galaxy had received the signal. Soon, ships from distant worlds would come to Earth, not to welcome humanity into galactic civilization, but to stop what they feared was the return of an ancient enemy. But the humans didn't know that yet. They only knew that their simple scientific expedition had become the beginning of something that would change everything. Ambassador Kang Do-yun had spent his entire career preparing for difficult diplomatic situations, but nothing had prepared him for this. 3 weeks after the first buried ship had broken through the ocean's surface, massive alien vessels had appeared in Earth's solar system. "Sir, the alien fleet is requesting communication," his aide informed him from the United Nations headquarters. Do-yun straightened his tie and walked toward the communication center. Through the windows, he could see people in the streets looking up at the sky with fear and wonder. Above them, Strange ships hung motionless in the atmosphere, like dark clouds that had refused to move. The alien ships were beautiful and terrifying at the same time. They were smooth and curved, made from materials that seemed to shift color in the sunlight. Some were as large as cities, while others were smaller but still bigger than any aircraft humans had ever built. "Open the channel," Do-Yun ordered. The main screen flickered to life, showing the interior of an alien ship. The being that appeared was tall and thin, with pale blue skin and large dark eyes. When it spoke, its voice was translated by computers into perfect Korean. "I am Commander Vex of the Galactic Council," the alien said. "We have come to speak with the humans about the awakening." "Welcome to Earth," Do-Hyun replied formally. "I am Ambassador Kang Do-Hyun, representing the United Nations. We are honored by your visit." Commander Vex's expression was not friendly. "Honor is not why we are here. Your species has activated technology that should have remained buried forever." Do-Hyun felt a chill of worry. "The ships beneath our ocean? We discovered them by accident. We meant no harm." "Accident or not, the result is the same," Vex replied coldly. "The Void Walkers have returned." "Void Walkers? I don't understand." Commander Vex paused, as if deciding how much to reveal. "Long ago, your species spread across the galaxy. You called yourselves many names, but we knew you as the Void Walkers. You built ships that could travel between stars, and you conquered most of the known worlds." Do-Yun's mind raced. "You're saying humans used to have an empire across the galaxy?" "Yes. Your ancestors were the most powerful species we had ever encountered. They appeared from beyond the edge of known space, and within a few centuries had established colonies on thousands of worlds." This was incredible news, but Commander Vex's tone suggested it was not a good thing. "What happened to them?" Do-Hyun asked. "To us. They vanished," Vex explained. "One day all the human colonies simply disappeared. Their great ships were abandoned. Their cities were empty. We thought your species had gone extinct. But we didn't go extinct. We were here on Earth all along. So it seems, and now your buried fleet is awakening, sending signals across the galaxy. Every species that remembers the old days is terrified." Do-Hyun began to understand why the aliens seemed so hostile. "You're afraid of us." "We have good reason to be." During their expansion, the Void Walkers were not cruel, but they were unstoppable. They had technology that was centuries ahead of everyone else. When they wanted a world, they took it. No one could resist them. But that was thousands of years ago, Do-Hyun protested. "Modern humans are not conquerors. We can barely travel to our own moon." Commander Vex's large eyes studied him carefully. "Perhaps. But the ships awakening beneath your planet suggest otherwise. Our scouts report that these vessels contain technology far beyond what your current civilization possesses." "Behind, Commander." Vex's other alien beings could be seen moving around the ship's bridge. They belonged to different species. Some were insect-like, others looked like walking plants, and a few resembled large cats with multiple arms. But they all shared the same expression of worry and fear. "The Galactic Council has made a decision," Vex announced. "The awakening ships must be deactivated and reburied. Humanity must agree to remain on Earth and abandon any plans for space exploration." Do-Hyun felt anger rising in his chest. "You want to imprison our entire species on our own planet?" "We want to prevent another galactic war," Vex replied firmly. Your ancestors' expansion caused massive upheaval. Billions of beings died in the conflicts that followed their disappearance. We will not allow that to happen again. And if we refuse? Commander Vex was silent for a long moment. Then we will be forced to ensure the ships never fully awaken. The threat was clear. The aliens were prepared to attack Earth to prevent humanity from reclaiming their apparent galactic heritage. I need time to discuss this with our world leaders, Do-hyun said. You have 24 hours, Vex replied. After that, we will take action. The communication ended, leaving Do-hyun alone with the most important decision in human history. He immediately called an emergency session of the United Nations Security Council. Within hours, leaders from around the world were debating humanity's response. Some wanted to comply with the aliens' demands, arguing that they couldn't fight such advanced technology. Others insisted that humanity had the right to explore space and reclaim their heritage. Meanwhile, Dr. Kim Hana and her team were studying the ship that had risen from the Pacific Ocean. The massive vessel floated on, the surface like a metal island, its hull covered in the same glowing symbols they had first discovered. Have you learned anything new? Do-hyun asked when he visited their research station. The ship is definitely human-made, Hana reported. But the technology is far beyond anything we understand. Dr. Yoon Soman has been working on translating more of the symbols. Dr. Soman looked up from her work. The messages are becoming clearer. These ships were left as guardians waiting for their creators to return. But there's something else. The symbols suggest that the people who built these ships expected to come back much sooner. What kept them away? Do-hyun wondered. I'm not sure, but the references suggest some kind of great danger that forced them to hide on Earth. This information made the situation even more complex. If ancient humans had been fleeing from something, what did that mean for modern humanity? There's more, Samin continued. The ship's systems recognize current humans as legitimate inheritors. It's trying to download information directly into our technology. What kind of information? Star maps, mostly, and technical specifications for building more ships like this one. Do-hyun realized that whether humanity wanted it or not, they were being prepared for a return to space. The ancient ships weren't just artifacts, they were gifts from humanity's past to its future. That evening, as he prepared for another communication with the alien fleet, Do-hyun made his decision. He would tell Commander Vex that humanity appreciated the galactic community's concerns, but they would not be imprisoned. On their own world, the ancient ships were waking up for a reason. Perhaps it was time for humanity to reclaim their place among the stars, whether the galaxy wanted them back or not. As he looked up at the alien ships in the sky, Do-hyun wondered what his ancestors had been like. Had they really been conquerors? Or had they been explorers seeking knowledge and new homes? Soon, humanity would have the chance to show the galaxy which path they would choose this time. Dr. Lim Biaol had always loved solving ancient puzzles, but she had never imagined walking inside one the size of a city. The risen ship from the Pacific Ocean was like nothing any archaeologist had ever studied. Its corridors stretched for kilometers, and every surface was covered with symbols that seemed to change when she wasn't looking directly at them. "Be careful with that scanner," she warned her assistant as they explored deeper into the vessel. "We don't know how the ship's systems will react to our equipment." The interior of the ship was breathtaking. The walls were made from the same unbreakable metal as the hull, but they glowed with soft light that made the corridors feel warm and welcoming. The air was clean and fresh, as if the ship's life support systems had been running perfectly for thousands of years. "Dr. Lim," called one of her team members from ahead. "You need to see this." Biol hurried forward and found herself in a vast chamber filled with floating displays. Holographic images hung in the air, showing star charts, technical diagrams, and what looked like historical records. The displays were responding to their presence, cycling through different images as if trying to find something the humans could understand. "How is this possible?" her assistant whispered. "This technology is like magic." "Not magic," Biol corrected. "Just very advanced science. Our ancestors built this." She approached one of the larger displays, and it immediately focused on her. The hologram showed an image of a planet that looked remarkably like Earth, but with different continents and oceans. "Is that Earth?" her assistant asked. "I think it's Earth as it was long ago," Biol replied. "Look at the timestamp." Numbers appeared below the image, written in the same symbol language that Dr. Yoon Soman was learning to translate. Based on Soman's work, the image was dated approximately 50,000 years ago. As they watched, the display began showing a sequence of images that told a story. They saw human cities that looked nothing like modern civilizations. The buildings were tall and curved, made from materials that seemed to flow like water but stood strong like stone. Flying vehicles moved between the structures, and humans walked among them wearing clothes that seemed to shift and change color. "They were so advanced," Bjol breathed. "Why did they give all this up?" The holographic story continued, showing humans building the first starships. These vessels were smaller than the buried fleet, but still enormous by modern standards. The images showed them launching from Earth and traveling to nearby stars. "Look," her assistant pointed to one display. "They're finding other planets." The hologram showed human explorers landing on worlds with purple skies, red oceans, and strange alien plants. But these worlds were empty of intelligent life. Humanity was alone in their part of the galaxy. The story progressed through thousands of years. Human colonies spread across hundreds of star systems. The ships grew larger and more powerful. Technology advanced to levels that seemed impossible. Humans learned to reshape entire planets to make them suitable for life. "They really were the masters of the galaxy," Biol murmured. But then the images changed. The displays showed something approaching from the deep darkness between galaxies. It was hard to make out exactly what it was. The hologram seemed to have trouble displaying it clearly. Whatever it was vast and threatening. "What is that thing?" her assistant asked. The holographic records showed human leaders meeting in great councils, their faces filled with worry. Star charts appeared showing the approaching threat's path. It would reach human space within centuries, and from the images, it was clear that even advanced human technology might not be enough to stop it. They were running from something, Biol realized. That's why they disappeared. The story showed humanity's desperate plan. They would hide their main population on Earth, while sending out smaller groups to establish hidden colonies in distant parts of the galaxy. The Great Fleet would be buried on Earth, waiting for the threat to pass. But why Earth? Her assistant wondered. Why not another planet? The holograms answered that question, too. Earth wasn't just humanity's original home. It was their most advanced ship. The entire planet had been converted into a massive vessel capable of traveling between galaxies. If the worst happened, Earth itself could flee to safety. The whole planet is a ship? Biol asked in amazement. More displays activated showing Earth's hidden systems. Deep beneath the continents were engines and power sources that could move the planet through space. The oceans weren't just water. They were coolant systems for the massive machinery. Even the moon was artificial, serving as a navigation and communication station. The revelation was staggering. Humanity hadn't just lived on Earth, they had built it into the ultimate escape vessel. "Dr. Lim," her radio crackled. "This is Dr. Kim Hana. Are you receiving the ship's data transmissions?" "What transmissions?" Bayal asked. "The ship is sending detailed technical information to our computers. Star maps, construction blueprints, historical records. It's like it's trying to catch us up on everything we missed." Bayal looked around the chamber with new understanding. The ship wasn't just showing them the past. It was preparing them for the future. "Hana, you need to get down here. The ship is showing us Earth's true nature." Within an hour, Dr. Kim Hana and her team had joined Biol in the memory chamber. Together, they watched as the holograms revealed the full extent of humanity's ancient achievements. "If this is true," Hana said, "then we're not just descendants of space travelers. We're the crew of the most advanced vessel ever built." The displays continued their story, showing how ancient humans had gone into a form of deep hibernation, their advanced genetics ensuring that their descendants would eventually be capable of awakening Earth's systems when the time was right. That's why modern humans have been developing technology so quickly, Bayal realized. We're not inventing new things. We're remembering old ones. Dr. Yoon Soman's voice came over the radio from the translation center. "The ship's language systems are now fully integrated with our computers. I can read everything clearly now." "What does it say?" Hana asked. "The threat that drove our ancestors into hiding? It's gone. The ship's deep space sensors confirmed that the danger passed through this region of the galaxy thousands of years ago. It's safe for humanity to reclaim their heritage." The holographic displays seemed to respond to this news, showing new images of human ships traveling between stars, establishing colonies, and exploring the vast mysteries of space. "There's something else," Soman continued. "The ship's systems have been monitoring the current galactic situation. The aliens who visited us yesterday. They're not nearly as advanced as they pretended to be. Their technology is actually quite primitive compared to what humans achieved in the past." Bayal and Hana exchanged glances. The aliens had threatened to prevent humanity's return to space, but they might not have the power to enforce that threat. "The ship is asking us to make a choice," Soman reported. "We can remain on Earth and live as we have been, or we can activate the awakening protocol and reclaim our place as explorers of the galaxy." "What does the awakening protocol involve?" Hana asked. "Full activation of Earth's ship systems and the rise of the entire buried fleet. Basically, we become a space-traveling civilization again." As they stood in the chamber surrounded by the memories of their ancestors, Biol felt the weight of history pressing down on them. They weren't just making a decision for themselves. They were choosing the future path for all of humanity. The galaxy had forgotten how powerful humans could be. Soon, they would remember. Admiral Shin Wonho stood on the bridge of Earth's most advanced military vessel, but he felt like a child playing with toys. Through his ship's sensors, he could see the alien fleet surrounding Earth, and their technology was clearly superior to anything humanity currently possessed. But that wasn't what worried him most. What worried him was the data streaming from the risen human ship in the Pacific Ocean. "Sir," his communications officer reported, "we're receiving another technical download from the ancient vessel." "What is it this time?" Wonho asked. "Weapon specifications, sir. And, sir, these weapons are incredible." Wonho walked over to the display screen and studied the information. The ancient human ship was sharing blueprints for devices that could reshape matter at the atomic level, create energy shields that could protect entire planets, and generate power sources that could fuel civilizations for millions of years. How accurate is this data? He asked his science officer. We've tested some of the simpler designs, sir. They work exactly as described. The ancient humans had technology that's thousands of years ahead of anything the current galactic civilizations possess. This information was both exciting and terrifying. If humanity could build these weapons, they would be unstoppable. But the alien fleet currently surrounding Earth wouldn't wait for humans to figure out how to construct such devices. Admiral, his tactical officer called out, the alien ships are moving into attack formation. Through the main view screen, Wanho could see the massive alien vessels repositioning themselves around Earth. There were hundreds of them, representing dozens of different species. It was clear they had all come together for one purpose: to prevent humanity's return to space. Sir, incoming transmission from the alien command ship. Put it through. Commander Vex appeared on the screen, his pale blue features showing determination and fear. Admiral Shin, your 24 hours have expired. Have your leaders made their decision? We're still discussing the matter, Wanho replied diplomatically. There is nothing to discuss. Our deep space sensors have detected the energy signatures coming from your buried ships. They are activating weapon systems that could threaten every world in the galaxy. We have no intention of threatening anyone, Wanho insisted. Intentions change, Vex replied coldly. Your ancestors had peaceful intentions too at first. But power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. We cannot allow the Void Walkers to rise again. Then what do you propose? Complete deactivation of all buried vessels, destruction of the surface ship, and placement of monitoring stations around Earth to ensure compliance. Wanho felt anger rising in his chest. You want to turn our planet into a prison. We want to prevent galactic war, Vex corrected. You do not understand what your ancestors were capable of. Let me show you. The view screen changed to display holographic records from alien archives. Wanho saw images of human ships arriving at alien worlds, their massive hulls dwarfing the local vessels. The humans in these records didn't look threatening. They appeared curious and peaceful. At first, your people were welcome, Vex explained. They shared technology and knowledge. They helped us solve problems that had plagued our civilizations for centuries. The images showed humans working alongside various alien species, building great projects together and exploring new worlds. But then they began to change, Vex continued. As their power grew, they became less interested in cooperation and more interested in control. The next images were darker. They showed human ships arriving at worlds uninvited, establishing colonies without permission, and taking resources that belonged to other species. They never declared war, Vex said. They didn't need to. Their technology was so advanced that resistance was impossible. Within 3 centuries, humans controlled most of the galaxy. Wanho studied the images carefully. The humans in these records did look different from modern people. Taller, more confident, with an aura of absolute authority. What happened to them? Wanho asked. They vanished overnight, Vex replied. Every human colony was suddenly empty. Their great ships were found drifting in space with no crew. It was as if the entire species had simply disappeared. Maybe they had a good reason for leaving. Perhaps, but now they're back, and we cannot take the risk that history will repeat itself. The transmission ended, and Wanho was left staring at the alien fleet. He understood their fear, but he also understood that humanity deserved the right to determine its own future. Sir, his communications officer announced, priority message from Earth Defense Command. Put it through. General Park appeared on a smaller screen. Admiral, the buried ships are surfacing. All of them. What do you mean, all of them? Every ship Dr. Kim Hana's team detected is rising to the surface, plus dozens more that we didn't. No existed. The Pacific Ocean looks like a parking lot for starships. Wanho felt his heart skip a beat. If the aliens were afraid of one ship, what would they do when they saw an entire fleet? There's more, General Park continued. The ships are powering up their defensive systems. Our sensors show energy barriers forming around each vessel. Defensive systems. Admiral, those ships just brushed off a full bombardment from the alien fleet. The aliens hit them with everything they had, and the human shields absorbed every shot without even flickering. This changed everything. The aliens had tried to destroy the rising ships and failed completely. Now they would know that their technological superiority was an illusion. Sir, his tactical officer reported, the alien fleet is withdrawing to a higher orbit. On the view screen, Wanho could see the alien ships moving away from Earth. They weren't retreating in defeat. They were regrouping for a larger assault. Admiral, came another transmission from the ancient human ship. This is Captain Lee Minjae of the vessel Eternal Dawn. We are fully operational and ready to defend Earth. Captain Lee? But that's impossible. The ship has been buried for thousands of years. The ship's AI awakened me and my crew from deep hibernation when the threat to Earth was detected. We are the original Guardians, left behind to protect our descendants. Wanho realized that the situation was far more complex than anyone had imagined. Not only were the ancient ships still functional, but they still had crews. Captain, how many ships are in your fleet? 200 vessels in the primary defense fleet. Several thousand more remain in deep storage, ready to be awakened if needed. The numbers were staggering. Humanity possessed a space fleet larger than anything the galaxy had seen in millennia, crewed by people who had been alive when humans ruled the stars. Sir, his science officer reported, long-range sensors are detecting massive alien reinforcements approaching the solar system, ships from every major galactic civilization. How many? Thousands, sir. Maybe tens of thousands. Wanho realized that the galaxy's response to humanity's awakening was not just fear. It was panic. Every alien species that remembered the old days was sending their fleets to contain the human threat. Captain Lee, Wanho transmitted to the ancient ship, we may be facing the largest space battle in galactic history. Admiral, came the calm reply. My people have been preparing for this day for 50,000 years. We are ready. As Wanho watched the alien reinforcements approaching Earth, he wondered if humanity was about to reclaim its place as masters of the galaxy, or if they were about to start a war that would consume all known civilizations. Either way, the quiet days of Earth as an isolated planet were over forever. The galaxy was about to remember why the Void Walkers had once been feared across the stars. Pilot John Yunji had always dreamed of flying among the stars, but she never imagined it would happen like this. Standing before the massive control console of the ancient ship Eternal Dawn, she felt both excited and terrified. The ship's AI had specifically requested her presence, saying she had the right genetic markers to interface with the vessel's consciousness. "Are you ready, Ms. John?" asked Captain Lee Minjae. The ancient human looked exactly like a modern person, except for his eyes, which held the wisdom of someone who had lived for thousands of years. "I think so," Yunji replied, placing her hands on the glowing control interface. "What exactly will happen?" "The ship will connect with your mind," Captain Lee explained. It will share its knowledge and memories with you, and you will be able to control its systems as if they were part of your own body. The moment Yoonji's hands touched the controls, the world changed. Suddenly, she could feel the entire ship as if it were her own body. She could sense every corridor, every room, every system. The ship's massive engines felt like her heartbeat, and its sensor arrays were like new eyes that could see across vast distances. "Amazing," she whispered. "I can feel everything." But more than just the ship's systems, she could access its memories. Thousands of years of history flowed through her mind. She saw the rise of the ancient human civilization, their expansion across the galaxy, and the terrible threat that had forced them into hiding. "What was the threat?" she asked, speaking to the ship's AI directly through their mental connection. Images appeared in her mind. She saw something vast and hungry moving through the darkness between galaxies. It wasn't a species or a civilization. It was something else entirely. Something that consumed entire star systems, leaving nothing but empty space behind. "The Devourers," the ship's AI explained in her thoughts. "They came from beyond our galaxy, following the energy signatures of advanced civilizations. Your ancestors realized that humanity's technological achievements had attracted their attention. So they hid Earth and went to sleep, hoping the Devourers would pass by without noticing." Exactly. And the plan worked. The Devourers consumed several other galaxies but passed through this region without detecting Earth's true nature. Yoonji felt relief wash over her. The ancient threat was gone, which meant humanity was free to reclaim their heritage. But as she explored the ship's memory banks, she discovered something that made her gasp. "Captain Lee," she called out loud, "the ship is showing me construction plans." "What kind of construction plans?" "For building more ships like this one. Thousands of them!" Through her connection to the ship, Yoonji could see detailed blueprints for an entire space fleet. The ancient humans had left behind not just guardians, but the tools to rebuild their civilization. The ship contained manufacturing systems that could create anything from small fighter craft to massive colony ships. "There's more," she continued, her excitement growing. "The ship has been guiding human technological development for thousands of years." "What do you mean?" "Every major breakthrough in human science and technology. The ship has been subtly influencing human inventors and scientists. We didn't discover space travel on our own. We were being prepared for this moment." Captain Lee smiled. "Your ancestors were very thorough in their planning." Yoonji dove deeper into the ship's systems, learning about capabilities that seemed impossible. The vessel could manipulate matter at the molecular level, creating anything needed from basic raw materials. It could generate artificial gravity, travel faster than light, and even create pocket dimensions for storing vast amounts of equipment. "How many people know about all this?" she asked. "Very few," Captain Lee replied. "But that's about to change. The ship's AI is preparing to share basic technical information with your world's scientists and engineers." "Basic information?" "Enough to build a small fleet of modern starships within a few years. Your people will need vessels of their own if they're going to explore the galaxy." As Yoonji continued to interface with the ship, she realized the full scope of what was happening. Humanity wasn't just inheriting ancient technology, they were inheriting an entire galactic civilization that had been waiting for thousands of years to resume its expansion. "Yoonji," came a transmission from Admiral Shin Wonho's ship. "What's your status?" "Admiral, this is incredible," she replied through the ship's communication system. The vessel contains complete manufacturing facilities. We could build an entire space fleet using the resources right here on Earth. How quickly? She consulted the ship's production estimates. With full automation, we could have 100 new starships within 6 months. There was silence on the communication channel as Admiral Wanho processed this information. There's something else, Yunji continued. The ship's sensors are detecting the alien fleets approaching Earth. It's already calculating defensive strategies. Through her connection to the ship, she could see tactical displays showing the positions of thousands of alien vessels. The ship's AI was analyzing their capabilities and developing plans to counter any attack. Can we defend against so many ships? Admiral Wanho asked. Captain Lee, Yunji turned to the ancient guardian. What are our chances? Captain Lee studied the tactical displays with a calm expression. The alien fleets are large, but their technology is primitive compared to what we possess. However, there's something more important to consider. What's that? We don't want to become the conquerors our ancestors were accused of being. We need to show the galaxy that modern humans are different. Yunji understood. They had the power to defeat the alien fleets easily, but doing so would only confirm the galaxy's worst fears about humanity's return. What do you suggest? She asked. A demonstration, Captain Lee replied. Something that shows our capabilities, without causing unnecessary destruction. Through her connection to the ship, Yunji felt the AI presenting several options. They could disable the alien fleets without destroying them, create an energy barrier around the entire solar system, or even relocate Earth to a different part of the galaxy. The ship can move planets? She asked in amazement. Earth is the most advanced vessel ever built, Captain Lee reminded her. Moving between star systems is one of its basic functions. As they discussed their options, more ancient ships continued to rise from Earth's oceans. Each one was crewed by guardians who had been sleeping for millennia, waiting for the moment when humanity would need them again. Yunji, Admiral Wanho's voice crackled over the radio. The alien fleets are demanding our surrender. They want all humans to submit to galactic authority. Through the ship's sensors, she could see the massive alien armada surrounding Earth. There were indeed thousands of vessels representing dozens of different species, but to her enhanced perception, they looked fragile and slow compared to the human ships. Admiral, she replied, I think it's time to show the galaxy what we're really capable of. What did you have in mind? Yunji smiled as the ship's AI presented her with the perfect plan. Something that will remind them why humans were once called the Void Walkers. As she prepared to implement the ship's strategy, Yunji felt the weight of history on her shoulders. She wasn't just a pilot anymore. She was the representative of humanity's return to the stars, and she was going to make sure the galaxy never forgot this moment. The ancient ships were ready. The guardians were awake. And humanity was about to reclaim its place as masters of space. President Han Giseok had led his country through many crises, but nothing had prepared him for making decisions that would affect the entire human species. Standing in the emergency command center beneath Seoul, he watched as reports flooded in from around the world. The alien fleets had issued their final ultimatum. Humanity had 6 hours to deactivate all ancient ships and submit to galactic oversight or face complete destruction. Mr. President, his military advisor announced, Dr. Nam Jae-hyun from the Geological Research Institute is requesting an emergency meeting. He says it's about Earth itself. Send him in immediately. Dr. Nam Jae-hyun burst into the command center, carrying a tablet filled with seismic data. He looked exhausted but excited, as if he had made a discovery that changed everything. Mr. President, we need to evacuate the major cities immediately, he said, without any formal greeting. Evacuate? Are you expecting the aliens to attack? No, sir. I'm expecting Earth to transform. President Han stared at the scientist. What are you talking about? Dr. Nam activated his tablet, showing complex geological readings from around the world. Sir, Earth is not a planet, it's a ship, the largest ship ever built. That's impossible. I thought so too, until I analyzed the seismic data from the past week. Every time one of the ancient ships surfaced, it caused specific vibration patterns in Earth's crust. Those patterns matched the resonance frequency of a massive mechanical structure. Dr. Nam switched to a global map showing seismic monitoring stations. Look at this. The vibrations are originating from Earth's core, but they're too regular and organized to be natural. President Han studied the data, trying to understand its implications. You're saying the entire planet is artificial? Not T. Entirely artificial, but heavily modified. Our ancestors built enormous engines and control systems throughout Earth's interior. The continents we live on are basically the upper decks of a world-sized starship. How is that possible? Advanced technology that we're only beginning to understand. But, sir, that's not the most important part. Important. What is? The ship systems are activating. Earth is preparing to move. President Han felt the world spinning around him. First alien fleets, then ancient human ships, and now he was being told that Earth itself was a spacecraft. Move where? He asked weakly. I don't know, but the energy readings suggest we're looking at a journey to another star system. Before President Han could respond, his communication officer announced an incoming call from the United Nations headquarters. Mr. President, this is Ambassador Kang Do-yoon. The situation has changed dramatically. What's happened? The ancient ship captains have called a meeting of all world leaders. They say humanity needs to make a choice about its future. What kind of choice? Whether to stay on Earth as it travels to a new star system, or to build a new fleet and spread across the galaxy like our ancestors did. President Han realized that the decisions being made in the next few hours would determine humanity's destiny for thousands of years. I'll be there in 30 minutes, he decided. The emergency meeting was held aboard the ancient ship Eternal Dawn, with world leaders from every nation gathering in the vessel's vast conference chamber. Captain Lee Min-jae and the other awakened guardians stood before them, their expressions serious but hopeful. Leaders of modern humanity, Captain Lee began, the time has come to reveal the full truth about your heritage. Holographic displays activated around the chamber showing Earth's hidden nature. The planet's interior was revealed to be a complex network of engines, life support systems, and manufacturing facilities. Entire continents were shown to be movable sections of the world ship's hull. Your ancestors built Earth as the ultimate ark, Captain Lee explained. It was designed to carry human civilization to safety if our galaxy ever became uninhabitable. But the galaxy is safe now, President Han pointed out. Why activate these systems? Because the alien fleets surrounding us prove that we're not welcome in our own birthplace, Captain Lee replied. They want to keep humanity trapped on one world, forever under their supervision. The Brazilian president asked, what are our options? 3 choices, Captain Lee said. First, we can submit to alien authority and remain on Earth as a monitored species. Second, we can activate Earth's engines and travel to an unpopulated star system where we can develop freely. Third, we can reclaim our heritage as galactic explorers. What does the third option involve? Asked the Chinese premier. full activation of our ancient manufacturing capabilities. Within a year, we could build a fleet of 10,000 starships and establish colonies throughout the galaxy. The chamber fell silent as world leaders considered the magnitude of these choices. Each option would fundamentally change human civilization. "What do you recommend?" President Han asked. Captain Lee exchanged glances with the other Guardians. "We recommend a combination of options 2 and 3. Earth should travel to a new star system for safety, while a volunteer exploration fleet spreads across the galaxy to re-establish human presence among the stars." "How many people would this affect?" "Everyone," Captain Lee replied simply. "Earth's journey will take approximately 50 years. During that time, the volunteer fleet will explore and establish new colonies. Humanity will become a true galactic civilization again." The Indian Prime Minister raised a concern. "What about the people who don't want to leave Earth? Not everyone wants to be space explorers." "Earth will remain humanity's home base," Captain Lee assured her. "But it will be a mobile home, capable of traveling to new worlds and new opportunities." President Han looked around the chamber at his fellow leaders. The decision they were about to make was perhaps the most important in human history. "We need to put this to a global vote," he decided. "Every human being should have a say in our species' future." "There isn't time," warned Captain Lee. "The alien fleets are preparing to attack. We have perhaps 2 hours before they open fire. Then, we make the decision here and now," President Han replied, "as the elected representatives of humanity." The next hour was filled with intense debate. Some leaders argued for submission to alien authority, believing it was the safest path. Others wanted to activate Earth's engines and flee to safety. A few advocated for the bold choice of reclaiming humanity's galactic empire. Finally, President Han called for a vote. "All in favor of activating Earth's ship systems and beginning humanity's return to the stars?" One by one, the world leaders raised their hands. When the count was finished, the result was overwhelming. Humanity had chosen to reclaim its destiny among the stars. "Captain Lee," President Han announced, "activate the awakening protocol." Captain Lee nodded solemnly. "Very well, but understand, once this process begins, there is no going back. Humanity will never again be a single-planet species." "We understand," President Han replied. "It's time for our people to inherit what our ancestors left for us." As Captain Lee began the activation sequence, alarms started sounding throughout the chamber. The alien fleets had detected the energy buildup and were beginning their attack. "Let them come," Captain Lee said calmly. "They're about to see what the Voidwalkers are truly capable of." President Han watched through the ship's viewports as Earth began to change. The familiar blue planet was starting to reveal its true nature as the most advanced vessel ever constructed. Soon the galaxy would remember why humanity had once ruled the stars. Captain Minje stood at the command center of the ancient ship Eternal Dawn, his hands moving across control interfaces that responded to his thoughts as much as his touch. Around him, the awakened Guardians worked with calm efficiency, preparing for humanity's return to the stars. Through the ship's massive viewports, he could see the alien armada moving into attack formation. "All ships report ready," announced his tactical officer, a Guardian who had been sleeping beneath the Arctic. "Ice for 50,000 years. Begin the revelation sequence," Minje ordered. Across Earth, seismic sensors detected massive movements deep underground. The ocean floors began to shift and crack as hundreds of ancient ships pushed their way to the surface. But these weren't just rising from the seafloor anymore. They were emerging from beneath continents, from under mountain ranges, and from the polar ice caps. "My God," whispered Dr. Kim Hana from her monitoring station in Seoul. "There are thousands of them." The buried fleet was far larger than anyone had imagined. Every major landmass on Earth had been hiding clusters of starships. The Sahara Desert split open to reveal a dozen massive vessels. The Amazon rainforest lifted into the air as the ships beneath it awakened. Even the Antarctic ice sheet cracked and shifted as ancient guardians emerged from their long sleep. Commander Vex watched from his flagship as Earth transformed before his eyes. What had appeared to be a normal planet was revealing itself to be something far more terrifying. All ships, begin bombardment of the emerging vessels, he ordered desperately. The alien fleet opened fire with every weapon they possessed. Energy beams and missile salvos struck the rising human ships with enough force to destroy entire cities. But the ancient vessels absorbed every attack without even slowing down. Their energy shields flickered briefly with each impact, then returned to full strength. "Impossible," Vex breathed. "Our weapons aren't even scratching them." Captain Minjae watched the alien attack with a mixture of sadness and determination. "Open a channel to all alien vessels," he ordered. "Channel open, sir. This is Captain O. Minjae of the human vessel Eternal Dawn. We do not wish to fight you, but we will not submit to imprisonment on our own world. You are violating galactic law," Commander Vex replied angrily. "The Void Walkers were banned from returning to space." "The Void Walkers never agreed to any such ban," Minjae responded calmly. "You imposed it out of fear, without any justification." As they spoke, more and more human ships continued to rise from Earth's surface. The planet itself was beginning to change. The familiar blue oceans were draining into vast underground reservoirs, revealing the mechanical infrastructure beneath. Continental plates shifted and rotated, exposing massive engine assemblies and control systems. "What is happening to your planet?" Vex demanded. "Our planet is revealing its true nature," Minjae replied. "Earth was never just a world. It was the ultimate ark, designed to carry human civilization across the galaxy." Dr. Nam Jae-hyun watched from his research station as his geological readings went wild. Earth's magnetic field was intensifying, and strange energy patterns were spreading from the planet's core to its surface. "The engines are spinning up," he reported to President Han Giseok. "Earth is preparing for interstellar travel." "How long until we can move?" the president asked. "According to these readings, about 6 hours until full activation." The alien fleets were becoming increasingly desperate. Ships from dozens of different species had gathered to stop humanity's awakening, but their combined firepower was useless against the ancient human technology. "All alien vessels," Captain Minjae broadcast, "you have one opportunity to withdraw peacefully. We have no desire to harm you, but we will defend ourselves if necessary. We cannot allow the Voidwalkers to spread across the galaxy again," Vex replied stubbornly. "Then you leave us no choice." Minjae activated the human fleet's demonstration protocol. Instead of attacking the alien ships, the human vessels began to display their true capabilities. Energy fields surrounded each alien ship, not to destroy them, but to completely disable their weapons and engines. Within minutes, the entire alien armada was helpless. Thousands of ships hung motionless in space, their crews unharmed, but their vessels completely powerless. "How?" Vex asked in shock. "Your technology is based on principles our ancestors mastered 50,000 years ago," Minjae explained. We could have destroyed your fleets effortlessly, but we chose mercy instead. Pilot Jeon Yoonji, still connected to the Eternal Dawn's consciousness, felt the moment when Earth's transformation reached its climax. The planet's surface had completely reconfigured itself, revealing the massive world ship beneath. Ancient cities that had been hidden underground for millennia were rising to the surface, their towers gleaming in the sunlight. "Earth's engines are online," she reported. "We're ready for departure. All human vessels, prepare for the first jump," Captain Minjae announced. President Han Giseok stood in the command center, watching as his planet prepared to leave the solar system. It felt strange to think that Earth would soon be traveling between the stars like a gigantic spacecraft. "Where are we going?" he asked Captain Lee, who had joined them for the historic moment. "To the Andromeda Galaxy," Captain Lee replied. "Our ancient star charts show several systems there that would be perfect for establishing new colonies. Andromeda? That's millions of light years away." "Earth's engines can make the journey in about a year," Captain Lee explained. "And during that time, our exploration fleets will be establishing human presence throughout this galaxy." The alien. Fleets watched in terror as Earth's massive engines ignited. The planet began to move, slowly at first, then with increasing speed. As it approached the edge of the solar system, space itself seemed to bend and warp around the world ship. "They're using spatial manipulation technology," one of Vex's science officers reported. "They're literally folding space to travel faster than light." "That's impossible," Vex whispered. "Apparently not, sir." As Earth prepared to enter its first hyperspace jump, Captain Minjae sent one final message to the alien fleets. "People of the galaxy, we bear you no ill will. Our ancestors may have been conquerors, but we choose to be explorers. We will establish new colonies, but we will not claim worlds that belong to others. The galaxy is vast enough for all of us." "What about our disabled ships?" Vex asked. "Your vessels will be fully functional again in 24 hours, Minjae replied. "Consider it a gift and a demonstration that modern humans are not the threat you feared." With that, Earth and its escort fleet of ancient ships vanished into hyperspace, leaving the alien armada alone in an empty solar system. Commander. Vex stared at the space where Earth had been. "What have we done?" he whispered. "Sir?" his tactical officer asked. "We tried to cage the most advanced species in the galaxy. When they inevitably spread across the stars, they'll remember how we treated them. As news of humanity's departure spread across the galaxy, every civilized world began to prepare for the return of the Voidwalkers. Some species began building defenses, expecting conquest. Others started planning diplomatic missions, hoping to establish peaceful relations with humanity's new colonies. But in the depths of space, Earth continued its journey toward Andromeda, carrying 8 billion humans toward their new destiny among the stars. Behind them, they left a galaxy that would never be the same. The age of human isolation was over. The age of galactic exploration had begun, and across the universe, other ancient threats that had been sleeping in the darkness between galaxies stirred at the energy signature of Earth's passage. Humanity had reclaimed their heritage as void, walkers, but they had also announced their presence to things far more dangerous than the Galactic Council. The galaxy quaked with fear and anticipation. The humans had returned to space, and nothing would ever be the same again.